Chapter 1. History. Let's start at the very beginning, or at least as far back as we can reliably go, in order to understand exactly why all things period are seen and talked about as they are now. We need to time travel a little bit. Get ready to bust myths, dig around for any grains of truth in some wild superstitions, and pin down how today's taboos gained such problematic staying power. Why do we have periods? That's a really good question. To answer it, we need to think of ourselves as a species. We do what every other animal does, reproduce. And periods are just a part of how our species does it. Menstruating animals. Some primates menstruate, along with some species of bats and rodents, including the elephant shrew. Sexual reproduction enables genetic variation so each generation can adapt to new environments, improving survival. A period, or menstruation, is the result of ovulation, which seems to be the less famous half of the menstrual cycle. Humans ovulate regularly to improve our chances of reproducing, and the womb grows a lining to help this along. If the egg is fertilized and conception happens, the lining stays in place throughout the pregnancy, enabling the placenta to embed itself in it as it grows, so it can provide nutrients to the developing fetus. The uterine lining is pretty important. No uterine lining, no placenta, no fetus, no more humans. So it's pretty essential for us that all this happens. If the egg remains unfertilized, though, our bodies no longer need the lining, and we bleed. And then the cycle begins again. For us, menstrual cycles happen every 21 to 35 days. Frequency. You could say that little and often is how we are fertile, while other animals are less frequently fertile, but in a more controlled way, in response to mating triggers. There are evolutionary pluses and minuses either way. On the bright side, humans don't usually have to do anything special to trigger fertility. It just happens. On the downside, we have to actively interrupt the cycle if we don't want to make any humans that month, or ever. Swings and roundabouts. It could be different. We could be reptiles, or birds, or platypuses, and lay eggs, or reproduce through parthenogenesis, or clone ourselves. Did I just make it weird? Now, if instead of the evolutionary history of menstruating, what you were really wondering about was, why, oh why, are we so unlucky as to have periods? The answer is, unlucky, but periods are actually amazing. And in the following 99 questions and answers, I will do my best to expand on that, so that by the end of this book, you will be the most confident, comfortable, and knowledgeable menstruator in the land. What were periods like in the past? People have been bleeding since prehistoric times, but little of that is written down, so we rely on speculation to paint a picture of a lost history of menstruation. Some speculation is based on chemical analysis of digestion, bone structure, and minerals in teeth, while some is inspired by written historical accounts. Anthropologists and historians have interpreted clues, but some of these interpretations are subjective and often conflicting. By the time history was being recorded, we'd been menstruating for millennia, and the people doing the chiseling, writing, scribing, and illuminating at the time were mostly people who didn't get periods. So what we know isn't a whole lot until we start focusing on the insights of much more recent research. Celestial reference. In Neolithic times, we can guess that due to sparser nutrition, considerable physical exertion, and nomadic lifestyles, people may have begun menstruating at a later age than they do today. But without actual evidence, we can't confirm this. We do know that for ancient people, using calendars and mapping celestial bodies was essential for agriculture and navigation, and that calendars evolved from tracking the sun, moon, planets, and stars. The Latin word for months is menses, which was first recorded as being used to mean menstrual flow in the late 15th century. So we can extrapolate that menstrual flow occurred monthly-ish back in the 1500s, as it does today. Also, historians have noted from primary sources like letters that in the early modern period, around 1500 to 1815, periods started between the ages of 12 and 14, similar to today, and ended around age 49, just a little earlier than they do today.